little it might be. Stand with 1 hectare of land, plant the trees, get us in, we will evaluate it, we will do the carbon value for those trees, and then we will hook you up. Now you can actually sit by the beach and you see a lot. Every year, money comes into your account. I'll also encourage you to look at your existing forest values and invite the specialists to look at that forest value and see what the carbon value is in that forest that you're keeping. And you can also get credit for it. And finally, we are bringing the Tesla Carbon Bank to Africa. And we identified strategic locations where this bank is going to come into. What happens with the Tesla Carbon Bank is that Tesla Carbon Bank has everything that you need to verify, to validate, and to trade the carbon. We understand the environment, we understand how it happens. If you're not careful, you'll get somebody to bring you the registry separate, they bring you the verification company separate, and they bring you the company that validates or trades separate. But we are able to put everything under one platform, is Tesla Carbon Bank. For as many as wish to be corporate partners in doing this, Yinka and I are open to bring in as many Africans as possible that wish to be part of this. And finally, there is something called ESG, Environmental and Social Governance. Recently, the US government is about to pass a law that every major organization should have an ESG process and be ESG compliant. Now listen, last year Yinka had me speak to about 80 CEOs in Africa about the importance of ESG compliance. The real deal is that the earlier we begin to ensure that our organizations are ESG compliant, the better, because climate change is evolving, climate action is evolving. It will get to a point where if you do not meet that compliance requirements, you won't be able to engage in certain projects. So we also have sessions where we can teach how organizations can become ESG compliant. And in closing, we need to move. We need to move from an era of the blame game to an era of the end game. If you don't like the way the game is going, stop the game and start afresh. Your focus for the game should be the end game. We should move from an era of complaining, like the young girl I met at the airport who said, "This is all about talk." How can you condemn something you don't know about? We need to move an area where we become voracious in our learning, where we need to know what is happening. We need to move an era where you pick up your phones and you don't use your phone for texting purpose alone, but you use your phone for knowledge. You use your data to understand exactly what are we talking about climate change, what are we talking about carbon market. We need to move an era where we hunger for knowledge. We need to move an era where we are bold and go forth to engage and speak with people. We need to move into an era where we should be proud as Africans and what we have as Africans in terms of what we have to provide solution to the issues that the world is talking about, climate change. We need to move from AIDS. We need to move from loss. We need to move from damage. And we need to get to our destination. And that destination is empowerment. Thank you very much.
to pass it around. Where's the person that's supposed to be? Questions?
Yeah, we're not going to go into questions now. Thank you, Dr. Abolo. Thank you very much for a wonderful job in delivering the message. I hope from his presentation, a lot of us kind of get a little better understanding on where the future in 1999. I remember when we were all sitting down waiting for 020000 to come. A lot of us did a lot of stupid things. Bought the wrong computer, took one and don't turn it on, set your clock backwards, because if you go to 000, all your bank account will go to zero, right? All those crazy things we did back then. And some of us went to buy more computers. Some of us burned the one we have, gave one away. And some people just creamed the market. They made a lot of money because we're ignorant. We didn't do much with it. And then, I remember those days quite well. And some of us didn't even sleep on that night, because if you sleep, you are going to another century and you may not wake up. So you are like 11:59, December 31st, 1999. And you are like, no, I'm not sleeping. Man, I'm turning my computer on, I'm watching it. Let me see what happens. I did that, right? And the funniest part was when my clock changed. And you look around yourself and you're like, I thought the world was going to collapse. And the world didn't collapse. And we're all still here, 23 years later. The people that had the advanced knowledge had gained something from it. What we are saying, again I repeat, we are here for a festival of arts and culture, right? The reason is that it is a platform for us to do a lot of good things, and for us to open our minds and use this as a commonality and get the best out of it. I mentioned two things earlier that I don't want any one of you to walk away from. The future of trade, transactions, business are twofold. Blockchain technology. In everything you do, I don't care if you're selling gas, I don't care if you're in the media, I don't care if you are selling food, find a way to be part of that blockchain technology. The next thing is climate change. It is money, it's in movement, it's in trade. A good example, I thought Dr. Abolo will even go deeper into one. For our bankers, the green facilities out there, right? So there are some grants out there today that are, zero, right? Or to 1 or 2% money sitting out there. That the companies that are giving these loans are actually looking for banks to be the one to warehouse this money for them. So even if you are a warehouse of this money, and all you do is help them move the money from the provider to the user, the money staying in your bank reserves can give you value for your brand. So we all need to look at these things down and get ahead of it. I think we need to go to questions. Dr. Abolo, you can't sit down yet because I don't have your technology. I'm not that. I'm only a culture guy now. I'm running away from engineering. I'm not doing engineering anymore. Let's just have 1 or 2 questions before Dr. Abolo goes away. Where are the guys with the other microphone in the back? Okay. Anybody with any questions? Somebody's right here.
Dr. Abolo, you take the tough questions. Nothing will happen. Can you talk louder, please? Turn it on. Turn it on. Is it on? No? Is that?
Hi everyone. My name is Nate from Kenya Industrial Alliance, and my question is about the scholarship. Are we going to learn about carbon? Are we going to have a program that is going to teach us something that we are going to bring to Africa?
Talking about the scholarship?
Yes, sir.
Yes. The A. Stephen Group of company, the A. Stephen Academy is involved in solar installations, solar technology, and solar maintenance. And that is what they are presently offering. But Eco-Logistics has the knowledge management arm, which is called Eco-Logistics Masterclasses. Once we get your information, we will share information with you where we can teach you about the carbon if you're interested in that. And I had also forgotten to mention that until Yinka mentioned it, that part of the package that is coming with Tesla Carbon Back is the tokenization of carbon. Where the carbon market now, we are going to tokenize it, where at the comfort of your system, you can actually trade carbon and make money out of it. All right, more questions? We need questions. Yes.
Good morning. My area of interest is around battery production.
The battery?
Yeah, battery production. Now, during the battery production, there is something which we call nickel. I'm not sure. Nickel is found in Tanzania, but environmentally, it's not visible to mine. How we can overcome on this?
Thank you so much. There's something called climate smart mining. Climate smart mining, you do an analysis of the environmental issues. And in doing analysis of the environmental issues, there are technologies and innovations that will help you to reduce your emissions. That is one. But another way of doing that is something that's called net zero. We came up with net zero at COP26 in Glasgow. There are certain processes that you cannot do without the environmental issues. But what is expected of you is to set up other projects and programs that will sequester carbon to offset the amount of carbon you are emitting from your processes. So you are expected to balance it, and that is where the carbon trade comes in. Organizations that are polluting, in order to meet their net zero, come to Africa, come looking for where they can buy carbon reduction certificates to offset. But there's so much technology going on, innovation that is going on right now in climate change mitigation that it's unbelievable that the impact of the environmental issues with that will be highly reduced. Then to talk a little bit more about that, when we floated the green bonds in Nigeria, I handled the safeguards. Safeguards means those environmental issues. I chose to do that. We realized that part of the challenges with some of these renewable approaches is the end of life cycle disposal. Yes, and that is why we are involved in what is called circularity right now. I'm writing a book on circularity to see how, as much as possible, those materials can be used and reused and reused. So, to answer your questions, yes, you can either use net zero, and then you can also research on climate smart mining approaches. Thank you.
Can I continue on the same?
Yes, please.
Well, with regards to nickel itself, I was just inquiring and doing some physical surveys, even the online surveys. It has been observed that nickel was highest produced in Russia, but due to some instance right now in the war, they've stopped exporting this nickel. And Tanzania is one of the countries which has nickel, and it is one of the gold, I would say, that we are having. Now, the thing is that the protocols on environmentals are not being followed. And that will be harmful to the area and the populations over there. Can we emphasize more on that so that we can educate also the environmental authorities regarding this?
Yes, I saw that publication where they said that the Russian war is now huge benefits to Tanzania. I saw that and I looked at it and I wasn't quite impressed with it because no matter what you do, you must not compromise your environment.
100%.
You must not compromise your environment because you cannot live outside your environment. So whatever you think you want to benefit, that benefit will be enjoyed in the environment. But if the environment is not there, you know what that means. So I agree with you. The country should set very strict laws and monitoring team to ensure that, because the demand for this does not mean that it's ethical. And like I said, we have an organization called Carbon Ethics, where you look at environmental ethics and issues like that. So if you can put that as a footnote, you and I can discuss that and see how we can put things in place to make sure that the environment is not further bastardized because there is a demand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asante Sana. Is facing. There's this new emergence of cholera now in 6 of the African countries in the SADC. And there is this link of climate change, of Cyclone Freddy, Cyclone Idai. I just want to pick up your brains from there. The second one, the issue of energy. Both me and you from South Africa and Nigeria, we are still struggling with energy. I think we had a total collapse of the grid at some point as a blackout. We are going through that stage. How do we bring this cultural consciousness and this knowledge to the policymakers? Because I know amongst ourselves here, we might not be in government, might not be in private sector, but how do we bring it to the policymakers? So the first one is around health and climate change, because it goes on issues of sanitation and hygiene. And the second question that was the follow-up is around, I do love your idea of the solar. How do we work with the solar power and alternative power? But what about the hydropower, the water, you know, the conflict in the Nile, the Inga Dam in the DRC? What is your take also on hydropower? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's 3 questions in one. The first one has to do with health and climate change. I will say that one of the strongest linkages between climate change and lives and livelihoods is health. I agree with you 100%. And it is also one of the most difficult to quantify in terms of impacts. And I remember when President Obama made certain policies on climate change, and when he signed into the Paris Agreement, which Trump didn't like, he said to them, do you know how much the US is going to save in the terms of cost for managing asthma by these policies alone? That was all he needed to say, and he got the policy done. Do you know the amount of damage that is being done to us in Africa? Because climate change has no boundaries. So whatever you emitted over there, we can have the effect here as a result of health. Do you know how much abortions that are happening? Do you know how much children that are dying? Do you know how much that our health is impacted? I agree with you so much, my brother, and I'm willing to work with you for us to see as much as we can quantify these impacts. We hear cholera, we hear issues, and you never get to understand the impact and the import until it gets near home, until you really see people die. You know, in Nigeria, I read many stories and I saw videos of women losing their children to flood, and they just watch their babies being carried by flood, and they can't do anything, and the flood takes their baby away into the net, and they lose their child. How much can you pay such a woman for that? And you watch people go through cholera, where our healthcare is already impaired and going through problems. So my brother, I agree with you. I will work with you, we'll work with Yinka, and we'll emphasize it. And we'll go around African nations and explain to them that the health impact is huge. Number 2, renewable energy. Yes, Africa as a whole has a huge deficit in energy. So once I was invited for what was called the Guardian Energy Summit in Nigeria. It's huge. And here I was, next to the Minister of Energy, next to all the big people, including the Senate Chairman for Energy, and little me there with them. And they talked a lot of grammar. And the minister said we have the capacity to generate 7,000 megawatts, but we are generating 4,000 because we lack the transmission infrastructure. However, the good news is that we are investing in Mambila Dam so that we can generate 12,000 megawatts. Everyone was clapping. And I said, there is a disconnect here, sir. You are generating 7,000, you cannot transmit because you don't have. Now, why are you investing money to generate another 12,000? And sir, we need to understand the moving of the times. I said, sir, the world is moving away from centralized to decentralized energy for several reasons. Number one, it has been identified that the future wave of terrorism will be targeted at critical infrastructure. So if you take out the power supply for this whole town or for this whole country, you will do more damage than bombing a building. People are building houses where all the energy you need in the house is in the house. I said, sir, please, why can't we invest and leapfrog technology? Why should we go back to the same technology that has failed us? Why can't we leapfrog? So back to what we are saying, the renewable energy presents a viable alternative for us. However, there is so much going on in terms of technology. So we must be at par with the technology. There was a time, so many years ago, in 2013, solar street lights were brought into Lagos. And the street lights worked for 2 months and they were gone. And people had a very terrible image about solar energy. And we went down, and our message was that solar was smuggled into Nigeria through the back door. That the solar that we have in the US is different from the solar street lights here. That again has to talk with our psychology and our mentality. So why do you have to leave your future in the hands of other people? In different parts of Africa, we have what it takes to produce the finest, best, efficient quality solar panels. So why do we want to go to China to import solar panels? That's what we are talking about. Climate action is about economy. It's not just about talking and talking and talking. It's about economy and it's about engagement. And that is what we are doing here today. We are looking at engagement. So that is the answer to your second question. The third question is hydro. One of the technologies that had been brought in by Zoetic, it's unfortunate that Ambassador Ringo is not here, is called the hydrokinetic technology for hydro generation. Now, the hydrokinetic is like a floating balloon, but it's like a floating turbine. Have you seen the radiator of a car? And then you see the blade. So they bring it and you drop it in a piece of water after having done the measurement. And as the water goes up or goes down, the water goes through that blade and it turns and it begins to generate energy. It doesn't need too much large infrastructure. And you can have them depending on the side of the moving water. Now, you can also have them run parallel, and after a certain distance from the tail race of the water, you can still place another one and you connect them to the bank. Now, what was recommended for that is to use that for smaller communities in such a way that it fits into the decentralized system that we talked about. All right, and we know that you lose a lot of energy when you need to transmit the energy over a long distance. So what we did when we did the green bonds in Nigeria, we developed what was called the EEP, a Nigerian Education Program, and we identified different universities that will have solar farms, And we identified several hospitals that will have solar farms. So we did models. We did Bayero State University. They have about 5 megawatts of power. For the past 4 years, Bayero State University has had power 24 hours, and they are not connected to the grid. We did for Alexa Kwame University in Anambra State. For the last 2 years, they are not connected to the grid, and they have had 24 hours of power. So the idea is this. Let's begin to identify different institutions, hospitals, and begin to engage the decentralized system to do this. Once they play with your mentality and make you think that you will now have solar that will serve, one solar installation that will serve the whole of Tanzania, they are messing with your mentality, with your psychology. The solar panel works better as a decentralized unit. Thank you.
I am representing FESTAC Africa. It's an institution of competitive education and social accountability in Africa. In your presentations, you mentioned 3 things, which is knowledge, capacity, and engagement, which is actually very critical issues in Africa. But I would like to focus on capacity. Do you think that we have young people who can identify, developing, and managing their inner potentials? We have realizing that we have a lot of young people in Africa trying to develop, trying to unlock their inner potential, but they're failing to develop their ideas. Do we think we have very urgent organizations? If we can develop our own things, if it is that needs and the critical needs in Africa that we have to build our own foundations, do we think we have a very powerful institutions in Africa that can be able to develop these potentials for young people for future generations, as the theme that we're talking about on this event? Thank you so much.
If you don't have the schools, develop the schools. It's not a problem that you don't have it. The problem is that you don't develop it. Those who have it, developed it. That is one. Number 2, Africa has the finest young people in the world. I schooled in Africa, then I went to America and I schooled in America. I beat all of them. The Africans in our class come out tops. All over the world, they are looking for the young people in Africa. Canada is opening their doors for the young people. In America, the best medical doctors are Africans. Everywhere you go, we excel. I hate to say this if it's not too political, but our generation, my generation upwards, have failed the young people. We have been very selfish. We have just been talking, we are not engaging. And take this down to the family, where the father and the mother are head of the family, and they have their children, and they don't provide their children with what they require to grow, to nourish, to compete. And then you turn around and you condemn them, and you say they are not doing anything. When we went to school in Nigeria, we had meal tickets, we had universities were beautiful, we were proud when we came home as Nigerians, as students. It's not there anymore. The only way you get there is if your parents have money to send you to the private university or send you abroad. None of us wanted to go abroad. We had all it took. A year after I graduated, we did what we call the 1-year youth service. The week I graduated, I bought a Land Cruiser in Nigeria, this present-day Nigeria, where people graduate with master's degree, they don't find jobs. We have a blessing in Africa where we have a very vibrant youth population, and we don't understand how much blessing that is. There are countries in Germany and the rest of them, they are looking for working class youth populations, they don't have it. The problem, my brother, is not with the young people. The problem is with our generation. And I want to tell you something. Let me not digress. I want to tell you something. It's not too late to change it. One of the things we are doing now is one of the things we need to do on a larger scale to change it. You don't graduate from school and you sit at home, you don't have work, and you think that young man will be normal? Think of it. Put yourself in his position. And he's begging for money, he is walking around aimlessly, and sometimes he is forced to take a job that does not even warrant his going to school. The problem is our generation. We say the problem is government. There are people that are in government. The problem is every man, every woman that is in my generation. And I will encourage everyone who doesn't know what to do, come join with us. Inspire has developed this platform. We can do this every year. More than culture, but where we will come and brainstorm and think and tell ourselves the truth and see how we can assist our young people. So, our young people are smart. And then in closing with your question, you see this stuff here? Who knows what is this stuff called? Eh? Smartphone? A lie. This is a gadget, an equipment. What you have here is more than what was used to configure what they used to go to the moon. So I encourage my young people, what if you have in your hands is power? We live in an age of abundance, and what that age of abundance means, we live in an age where information flows. Imagine the amount of pictures that we are taking in this occasion today. That kind of amount of pictures may not have been taken in the past in this whole town for 1 year. But now we take these pictures, we do videos. Do you know how many people that are listening to us real time all over the world? You have this as your power, young men. Don't think that all is lost. Once you can get enough money and get this and get data, you don't have any excuse why you shouldn't do well. Last question and we close it.
I think somebody in the world that passed into Africa. If you go to China, when you play with your phone and do TikTok, the messages that come in are messages that make your brain get better and you learn. But the stuff they send to us are the stuff that make us do selfie and we dance and we do stupid things and we're thinking we are doing the right thing. So if you're going to do TikTok, do something with brain in TikTok. Recite something. Talk about your culture. Talk about your country. Sell your country with it. Stop all the nonsense of I'm showing my side, showing my back and my teeth, get out of that. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much. In closing for the morning session, the next session starts at 2. This is more stuff. I said something yesterday, I repeated it again this morning. And if there's nothing you take out of this week, is that what we are building is a platform that picks and puts all of us together. And we're using that platform of arts and culture. This is a commonality amongst all of us as a platform to talk about all of issues that are pertinent to our continent. And the only way we move forward is by being realistic with ourselves, take the issues and face them straight. And unfortunately, COVID zeroed everything for us 2 or 2.5 years ago. And we have no more excuses to keep lying to one another. Yeah. So if we face all our issues straight, with the good intentions, then we will get somewhere. Mizango, right? Okay, so we have a team that came from Kenya, the Mizango Arts Ensemble. They said they got so excited about the topic of this afternoon that they are going to right here give you some cultural peace and wonderful enjoyment right after our quick sessions.
All right.
We have 3 sections this afternoon. They're going to be quick because I think what is important is for us to touch on what we are talking about.
Yeah.
We're not going to solve all the problems or issues today.
Sure.
But if we touch on it, you can know people, you can meet people, you can exchange phone numbers, and if you need more information on what is being talked about, you can then dive into it later. The last thing we're going to do before Misengo comes on is we're going to talk sports and the effect of sports in what we do and how we get the best of sports. And we have our friends from the Bundesliga and Mainz. We are doing a lot of wonderful things around the continent, from brand activation to developing our youth to coaching the youth, right? That no matter what country you come from, these 2 young, beautiful men have been to most African countries with me. We've traveled the Africa up and down.
Wow.
And we can, all the things we do, we can actually bring it to any country. You can see value in it once you get a better understanding. Just before sports, we're going to talk about wellness and health.
Oh, yeah.
You can't go anywhere without being healthy.
That's right.
We have our big doctor, Moses Mekala over there, that's going to lead that session. Again, it's just to touch. And then you're going to walk around and see the medicine, or I'll call it the local pharmacology, or the natural things that we actually have.
All
Because
right.
a lot of medicines in the world are synthesized either from the herbs like this,
Yeah.
right? Or they are laboratory powders. But a lot of time, laboratory powders, they have other effects.
Other things in them too.
Which means if we can stay with our leaves that people are synthesizing, packaging and selling back to us,
Yeah.
we can actually save even forex in our continent.
Wow.
Before that is to talk with these 2 young, beautiful ladies that are sitting next to me. I'm going to do an introduction of their names, and they are going to take over the microphone, and they are going to tell us who they are and what they have encountered in their lives, in business, and if you want to get a little personal, you can get personal. But the point is to draw out issues that are going on in our society that we can learn from and we can gain something from. Now, somebody will now say, why don't you have a woman moderating? Why do you take your big black
Oh, well.
self
Don't worry
to be the
about
one moderating?
it.
The plans was a lot. We had a lot of our people that are supposed to come with visa issues, logistic issues, but the show must go on.
Yeah.
My passion behind this, I left this continent over 40 years ago, and I moved to the United States of America. It was about the first week after I got to the US was when I realized I was black. I didn't know I was black. Seriously.
Yeah. You understand?
And I think the storyline is interesting. I was in a post office about to buy stamps. An elderly man came in. I was in my 20s, mid-20s. An elderly man came in, and culturally, you defer to age. And as he came in, he was a white person that came in. As he came in, because he was older, I stepped back for him. And I said, sir, go ahead. And there was another guy behind me. Maybe he would be in his 40s. The older man was like 70 something. So to me, he's a baba, automatic.
Like
right?
Like me.
No, you are still a young man. You are not a baba yet. You are a young man. As I defer to the guy to go forward, the black guy behind me of age 40 something years old yelled at me, what the black is wrong with you? And I look at him and I say, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And he said, why did you give that guy a chance to go in front of you? And I said, but he's older than me. And he said, so then what? And so I'm thinking, did I do something wrong? And then when I got up to my cousin and I said, this happened to me in the post office today. And I did it and I explained it. The guy said, yeah, the guy is not happy because you yielded to a white man. I said, oh shit. So I'm actually black. Because I actually didn't know I was black until that day. But the point I'm making with that, after now going into the workforce, all the way to being an executive, managing director and all of that, I was still a minority in a society. So no matter how much money I made, no matter how much class I had, no matter I go to meetings, I'm the number one in the meetings, I go with someone that's 10 times lower than me, they defer to that person. And that is what happened in a society where we classify some people as minorities. Yeah. So that's why I'm drawing the parallel on that. As a continent, we have done injustice to the power of our women for so long that we need to talk about it. Coincidentally, they are more than us in population. So if they are 55% of us, and we are now utilizing the 55%, look how much we are wasting. I also said something yesterday before I say the names of the ladies. One of those days when you are sitting down, if you have an engineer mind, you start trying to resolve all the world problems, even the ones you can't do anything about. I actually sat down, did permutation, and said, what happens if every president in this continent is a woman? Because today, Africa has scores of wars going on. A lot of them, we don't even talk about them anymore. Yeah. And some of them are ego.
Ego, for sure.
They are ego. So that if you have people that have compassion, our lives may not be the way they are. To my left is Dr. Christine Nzerega. She's the chairperson of the museum. I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves. Please, you guys. And what I asked them to do is to touch a little bit on their lives, especially their business life, and the challenges they've met as women in what they do, that we can all learn from. So the other side, who I'm going to have talk first, is Madame Janetta Woods. I met her about, February. Thank you. See, the brain is better than mine. We met in February, and it was instant love. I'll let her tell you her life story, because her life story is interesting and motivating. And that's why I have these two young ladies on the stage with me. So welcome, Madame Janetta.
Thank you.
And I'm going to let you go first.
Okay.
So I'm giving you the microphone.
All right. Ring the bell when you know.
I'm ringing the bell.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I don't want to be too loud because I have a loud mouth, being a black woman from United States. I understand. I understand coming here. Is this right?
Yeah.
Okay. I understand coming here that most of the schools teach you to be quiet. Don't be too loud. Don't. Oh, okay. Okay, I got it. To be quiet and not to be too loud. And the girls to be timid. It freaks me out. But I'm going to tell you something. There's something special about us as a people. And someone might say that you're just dreaming, but I know it's a fact. We are some of the most powerful people on this earth. And I'm going to tell you what. You can develop and we can develop something that no one can destroy. I don't care if they have bombs or what. My name is Janetta Ann Owen. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1943. On January 28th, I hit the sky. And I'm telling you something, that no challenge. When I was born, my mother and father had to live in my grandfather's basement apartment. Because in Nebraska, they didn't have a lot of places for black people to live. And my grandfather, when he came from Alabama, he decided that he would be staying there in Omaha in the side of town where they were building, they had the packing house industry. They offered great jobs, and in Alabama at that time, they were picking up young men off the road and putting them in jail, and especially if they had, they're trying to help me out.
Yeah.
Especially if they had any potential. And my grandfather was a man of potential. And you know, they said the people they brought out, they first selected the top quality people. They brought out people that had businesses and lawyers and doctors. That's what they brought out of Africa and put us in the field. And my grandfather was a man that had not learned to read very much. He's third grade education. But he was successful. But at that time when he was in Alabama, they had a recruiting team that came through the South to recruit the blacks to come to build the North, to build Nebraska and Illinois and all those places that they had industry. And he was one of them. And his wife and him in Alabama, they had a boarding house for the men that worked at the sawmill that was right across from them. So he was always doing something extra. Always doing something extra. But he was not a man of education. And I came from that root. He was 5'4". My grandmother was 6 feet tall. Yeah, picture that. Whenever they took pictures, she was standing up, he was standing up, and she was sitting down. They looked like the same height. But that's where I came from. I didn't come from a special family. My father worked 3 jobs. And I decided when I was growing up that I was tired of being taught by white people. So like they got you enthusiastic to go to school, I didn't want to go to school because I was tired of being told about Christopher Columbus and the history of the white man. I was just fed up with it. I don't know, there was something inside of me. I was tired of looking in church, looking at this white savior. I don't know what was wrong with me because that wasn't what affected my sisters and my brothers. That didn't bother them. But I'm going to tell you something, as a woman, we got it over the men, but we don't know it. I went out in the world, I got married, and I designed my husband. You can design your husband. I designed him. I designed him when I was 8 years old. You don't need to wait too late. I wanted a tall black man. I wanted a tall black man because I wanted some black children. And I got me a tall black man that was generous, very caring, very loving, and understanding, but he had flaws, but that was okay. But I got what I wanted. When I got pregnant, I demanded I have a daughter. I said I want to have a girl. Before I got married, I said I want to have a girl. I always played with girls, little girl dolls, and named them and everything. My first baby was a girl. It wasn't a guess. You can design what you decide you want to be. Your vision. I'm going to try to give you some vision today. I fell down. I'm blind because I fell down 14 concrete steps from the top down to the bottom, hit my head. Both on this side of my temple and on that side of my temple. I hit my head. But I decided on life and not death. And I got up from there and I said, I'm going to walk right back up them doggone stairs. I'm going back up. Wow. And I got up and went back up those stairs. Then I called the ladies from the church to pray for me. Because it said in the Bible that if they got together and prayed, that, the power of prayer, what it would do. Because I don't believe in doctors. I don't believe in medical doctors, the ones that give you all that medicine and everything. So I had them pray for me. And they prayed, and then they said, call the doctor. I said, wait a minute. I thought I called the doctor. But I begin to realize the power that we're created with inside. Do you know that we're outside looking for the blessings to come down, and they're here inside of us? We women have more power than we understand. But the thing that I don't like, Brother Inky, is right now they're trying to use the women to usurp the man. It's not that we're at disadvantage. It's because the way they set things up. Because in our society as a black people, we all had our positions, but the woman wasn't not under the man's foot. She was on his side. And that changed. And this is where we are today. Because as a woman, and this is really one reason why the women are so forceful in the United States, they would take our men and stand them in front of us and dehumanize him in front of us. And we oftentimes had to be the one to put the pieces back together and take that major role. Now, I've been a successful businesswoman. I worked in the government and they kicked me out, but they gave me some money. Yeah, they said they fixed it up. I was supposed to be dying because I have this big stomach, you see. All that's liver. Ain't nothing fat there. It's a bunch of liver. And they said it was going to kill me. That was 40 years ago. They made me retire because they couldn't figure out any other way to get rid of me. I was a budget analyst. I worked right in the cabinet office of the President of the United States. Now, I have an 8th grade education with a whole bunch of other education. Just because you don't get a degree from school, that don't mean you can't learn something, because you don't have a piece of paper. I have a piece of paper, but I beat up a whole lot of people that were so intelligent they didn't know what to do. Yeah, because I study. You don't let anything handicap you when you want to do something. You don't let a husband handicap you. I lived with a man 22 years before he stopped drinking. We were married 47 years. And I had to weather through that. But I made it. You can make it if you try. You can have a business. You can establish yourself. And I would have made a whole bunch of money as an insurance agent. I had an agency. I could have made it bigger. Could have made a whole lot of money. But I decided I wanted to be a wife. I don't know about you ladies. But having that strong man next to you means a lot more to me than that in God we trust. Hey, I don't know. And I had to make a choice because he was a man that had decided that he was the provider. And I didn't want to take that out of his. I wanted to be that if your provisions fall back, I can help you up. Now, man, I wasn't talking about I'm going to help you out. If you ask me to marry you, you're supposed to take care of me. I'm not supposed to help you take care of me. If I can help you take care of me, then we don't need to get married. We just be partners. We don't need to get married. I want a provider. And ladies, you should demand a provider. All the education you get, the money you get, but I'm going to tell you, encourage you. Even though you don't make the money, you get the education, the ability. I stood behind my husband. I pushed him. I helped him. I didn't dog him. A lot of times we that get education and get power and get positions, that's what we do. We try to make the man stand up to equal. And you men, I'm going to tell you something. You have an ego, but don't let that destroy you. Because most women are not doing it because they're trying to. That's because they haven't been trained. You women, train your sons. You men, train your daughters. Train your daughters and be factful with these young people. Be factful, be truthful with them so they can accomplish and build this nation. We need all the power we can get, black power we can get. Because I'm going to tell you something. We have the power that if they put a missile in the air, if we, inside of us, if we get unity together, we can bring the missile out of the air. Do you believe that?
Yes.
I didn't hear you. I heard Christine say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because we don't need no guns. You know that? We don't need no weapons. We don't need them. We do need each other to unify. So I'm going to tell you, you're right about women running the country because they don't have the ego thing. They don't have the ego thing, but we got some kind of problem. Yeah, we got problems. But we don't have the ego thing. But I'm going to let you know that no matter whether you have an education, whether you don't have an education or formal education, educate yourself. I've lived in 5 countries. I've learned 2 different languages. I just did have a hard time with Swahili. I've lived in 15 states in the United States. I have a business in Costa Rica called La Terraza Guest House. And it's on the internet. If you ever go to Costa Rica, go visit my son. He's in operation there. So I did all that. 47 years of marriage, 2 children, 1 grandson, been in business for myself, worked for under the cabinet of the president's office, been up there to represent the Congress and OMB and all that other kind of stuff. You can do it. You can do it if that's what you want to do. You can do it. But don't run over your man. Don't do that. Don't run over the man. He's the most precious item. He's precious. Don't run over him. Because you build a strong man, you got something for the rest of your life. I was married to my husband 47 years. You give me a glass of wine and some Barry White, honey, I got some things to woo-hoo.
Thank you very much.
Wow. I told you I brought you firepower.
Yes.
And when I met her the first day, the excitement was just like this. But I think more than anything else, it's a point of when we get to question and answer, just to see the challenges that we all have, how we overcome them, and how we make the best of ourselves. Before we go into questions, Madam Christine, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little about yourself and your own challenges in this beautiful. Thank you.
Chairman, my name is Christine Gereza. I was born to a family of teachers, and my parents, especially my father, wanted us to be very smart. So he brought us a lot of books. We used to read a lot, and by then we used to know almost a lot of things. And one thing he forbid us is to plait our hair. So up to now, that's why I've just used like this to keep my hair. It's because our fathers wanted us to go further. He said, you are wasting your time plaiting your hair. So everybody in our family, all the ladies, we are doing our hairs like this. And I did my first degree, Bachelor of Science with education. And then I did my master's in entomology, insects. And I did my PhD in snails. Actually, I'm the only African she who is doing our works on land snails. These are land snails. Yeah. The only African she lady who is working on snails is Christine Gereza from Tanzania. Yeah. There's not a lot of money. And people, they don't like, because you know, the way people, they don't like to work on it. So even to recruit people is very difficult. Now I'm aging, I don't want to, I don't recruit anyway. I fail to recruit people, all snails.
Yeah.
So I joined the National Museums of Tanzania in 1995 as a curator of biology. So now I am a curator of ecology. Somebody who's talking about how animals and plants interact. And in my life, I enjoy inspiring young young generation. I like to inspire young generation. Though when I inspire you, sometimes I can be very harsh, but I enjoy. Yeah. When I inspire you, you have to be ready. And the other thing I like is, I like doing small things with big actions. So even my project is a small project, but with bigger actions. My life I enjoyed working in the National Museums of Tanzania as a biologist, as an education officer, as a teacher. And I've done a lot of work. I've a lot of several publications, several works, and I enjoy doing things which other people, they don't do. So even when I inspire people, I inspire them to do things which not everybody is doing.
All right.
Not everybody is doing, but a person who will tell you if you've done some things wrong, I tell you right away, and people, they don't like that. And when people, they are doing their work, you keep on telling that, do this, that's not right, that is, do it this way. Especially men, they don't. It has been a very severe challenge to me, because men were, where I was working, some men were, even some of my directors were scared of my bosses in front of people, and later they told me, well, what you are doing will cost you your life. So I stopped doing that. I started being quiet. And
You have questions for her. I think what we're going to do.
And I found out that the black people, or the Afro-Americans in the States, most of them have extreme, not really extreme, but they cannot relate to blacks in Africa. So, and I'm not accusing them, I know the experience they've been through, and I want you to clarify to us why this is. I felt, for example, that when I was speaking to a white man, and I don't particularly get along with white people, it was much easier to interact with them and socialize with them in the States than to socialize with a black man. And simply because the black man seemed to have felt that he's maybe superior to the black guy from Africa, the man from the jungle. Maybe he can't speak the language that he speaks. But the white man was able to calm down, or maybe not come down, but be at the same level and speak to you, even if they were being hypocritical and pretending. But at least they welcomed you with an open heart. But the black man was very cold, very aloof, and almost hostile. So I was wondering, why is this in the States? I thought, oh, I'm going to meet my black brothers that we've been missing for the last 500-600 years. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to teach them Kiswahili. They don't want to learn Kiswahili.
yeah.
So what is your experience? I mean, it's not a question really. It's not an accusation. I just want to know what your feelings are about what I've said. Thanks.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to go ahead. Let me tell you, this is a good opportunity, and you blessed me by your question. And I'm going to tell you, first of all, that they have done a good job on us. They have showed us that you are desperate over here, and you're ugly, and you're hopeless, and you're not so intelligent, because you even needed Tarzan to swing between the trees to help you out, you know. I don't know if you've seen that movie with Tarzan and Jane, the white man who was over here in Africa. That's what they said. That was what we were given. But you understand energy, don't you? And when you come over, you have a certain pride. You got that African pride. And we can feel it, and we want to know, why are you so prideful when you had to come over here to get what we got? We got something, and you coming over here with all this pride, because you walk with a pride. There's a certain arrogance that you walk with because you come from your nation. We have no roots. And you don't spot it, and we don't really know it until we come places like this. and then we understand the full picture. I didn't understand the full picture till I got here. I didn't understand the full picture why you got along better with the white people when you got to the United States than you got along with us. Because you saw white people. You got acquainted. White people gave you gifts. They came and donated you money, brought you Jesus, and all those kind of things. Most of your missionaries were white people. So when you came to the United States, even that you almost said they talked down to you, because they did. Because you're that poor little African that came to the United States, and they blessed you by coming, and they don't want to mistreat you because you're that poor African. You're not that black man that they had slaved and come up and challenging him, now saying that to him, I want property, I want land, I want a job, I want position. You're not in challenge with him. So therefore they have built a wall between us that we don't see and don't understand until we mix with each other or until somebody tells us about it. But you have a certain kind of assuredness. You know where you came from. We don't know where we came from. We don't know what our name is. We know nothing. Nothing. It's not because you come and tell us this. It's because we can feel it on you. We can feel the way you talk, your mannerism. You have that. And then we're saying, well, you came to get our jobs. You came to get our jobs. And there's a thing against everybody that comes into another country and they get jobs and they get better. And you know what? You don't have the insecureness when you come to the United States as we do. You don't have the fear that somebody's going to come and open your house and grab your mama, your daddy, or somebody out there and put them up on a tree. You don't have that. But we do. We do. It's not because we don't love each other. You all love me all over here. But I get questions about, why did you come to Africa? Why not? This is where I belong. I'm over here now, and I'm back home. But I'm not home. Because I can't even get really a resident here without going, it's almost impossible. Most of my sisters and brothers are going across to get one. It's going to take us a while. But I love you, brother, and they love you. But we don't know each other. We don't know each other. Give us a chance. What you can tell when you talk to them, when you get a chance, you just talk to them and say, hey, you know, I'm your brother. And we got to get it together. So don't let us put each other away. Don't let me keep you away from me. And I'm not going to let you keep you away from me. I'm not going to do that. This is what it is, to break the divide. Thank you for your question. Yeah, I hope.
So happy to see women speaking to us about women. And as a young person in Africa, and I've seen our dear friend talking about snails. We have food shortage, and that can be food. In West Africa, in Nigeria, they eat that food. And back home in Kenya, I found someone picking the snails up, and I was surprised, what are you going to do with this? And when we grew up, the snail was like something you feel like, allow me to use the word, like, yeah, yeah, so the only thing that I was a bit disappointed when you said no one to train, and I think there are many. How many youths are we here? We're so many, and we need the knowledge. The only thing we lack is where and who to show us. So we are here, and we welcome you to have us know more about it. And you know, sometimes we don't want to use the knowledge like that because we don't know what the snails belong to, what does it do, apart from food, what can it produce. And I know with science and everything that we've done in school, that can be used for so many solutions in Africa. Thank you.
When when you talk of the snails, most of the people, they know all the big ones, but most of my study are on the tiny ones, less than 1 millimeter. And my study has been on the science behind seeing a snail. Yeah? For example, I've done my study on Mountain Kilimanjaro on how land snails communities are changing from top of the mountain up downstairs. So you find different types of snails, different types of communities. Here you find this is abundant, this is less. When you go somewhere else, you don't find it. But my study was and still on what can snails tell us about biodiversity, about changes in the environment, and so it has been very difficult to inspire people. You know, why I say it's difficult, because first of it is yucky, and second thing is when you talk of snails, people they say, how am I going to get money? Yeah, but my first house I built using snails' money. Yeah, I got a lot of money from British Ecological Society. Yeah, a lot of money on snails, and I did a study on snails in different types of plantations. So to tell people about the effects of invasive trees on community. So I'm happy to hear that there are people who are interested and there to teach you.
Good afternoon, ladies. My name is Hugo and I'm an African. Now, the question I have, I'd like to have answered by you both, and possibly because of your experience and where you were raised, you might answer it differently. Now, having lived on the African continent my entire life, one of the things that amazes me is how nationals from other countries, particularly Asia, for instance. So you walk into Johannesburg, you walk into Harare, you walk into Nairobi, you'll find that the Asians, so whether they're from India, Pakistan or Bangladesh or the Chinese, are not, you don't see them hiking, you don't see them on the street stopping for a lift, right? You don't see them poor in our own countries. Now, a lot of that speaks to what we profess, which is Ubuntu. I am because you are. So there's something that those people do in their cultures that we seem to be failing. We own the means to riches. We own most of the world's resources. But where are we failing as Africans? What are you as mothers not teaching us? Or where is there room for you as mothers to teach us as young black African men and women to come together and build a society where we are not putting each other down, but where I've come from Johannesburg and I'm in Arusha and I'm walking away with multiple contacts to find out how can I grow Pele's arts and crafts business by taking it to Johannesburg or taking it further afield. So I'm a little bit confused about where we're coming short and what it is that we're not doing, or on the contrary, what is it that we should be doing?
Power pack. But let me give you some hope. Let me give you some understanding. Is that what happened to us? What happened to us? And I know sometimes people get tired of hearing about it. But what happened to us happened to generations of us. And they did it in so many ways that we cannot count them. One of the most powerful ways they did what they did was through religion. That's one of the most powerful ways. One of the least powerful ways, but still very, very powerful, was our names. I came here and I'm so disappointed about the Johns, the Pauls, the Cherries, the Sandys, the Terrys, the Garys, the Marys, and all those names. I didn't have any idea that here in Africa, that the majority of the people I'm meeting have those names. Because our names are so powerful. And when they took my name from me, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, that put a strain in them that's passed down to me, that I can cry out and my grandson can cry out. So we're talking about generations that have gone, and now we're right now here today as a result of it. We have a lot of work to do, and don't give up on us. Let's not give up on each other, and don't let them separate us by male and female pack. We are one. I am a woman because I have a womb, and you are a man because you have a penis. That doesn't mean we are different in character. Two of us together make the power. And you create your world. Don't let anything stop you from moving on. Don't let anything. And if you're looking for a whole bunch of people to follow you, do you know how many people thought I was a fool for coming to Africa? They didn't think I was a fool for going to Costa Rica. Nobody called me and told me, well, are you safe? Is everything all right with you? Are you safe? And they just shot 16 people in the United States, in Dallas, Texas? And I'm supposed to be unsafe because I'm here in Africa among people that look like me, but I would be safer if I was in Europe? It's what we're thinking. You're a leader, and don't get discouraged because you don't have a whole bunch of people following behind you. Don't worry about it. You just keep on doing what you're doing, and all your answers will come to you.
Thank you. With my experience, you can see we are really somewhere we are failing, but I can say it's because we are skipping some of the process, you know. This life development, everything is a process. So when we are left behind, some of them, maybe they are in stage 5, and we jump from stage 2 and move to stage 5. And meanwhile, we leave what is very precious to us, and we jump where we don't have the connection. We actually, what I can put it, we are leaving ours, and we go and take some more things which are global or are not ours, and along the way, we fail. For example, our children, the new generation, they are talking of now. And we, the parents, we are teaching them about now, not about yesterday. So if somebody knows about today, you know that they know about the smartphone, but what about before this thing happened? That was a process. There was thinking and a lot of things. Nowadays, people, we don't teach. The worst part is we don't teach our children to think. They don't think. They go to schools, but we don't teach them to think. We have to teach them to think.
Thank you.
Okay, one more topic about the environment and climate change. Probably tomorrow, if my chair here allows. Can I just make two statements, really only two or three? First one is this, that thank you all very much, excellent exposition. Thank you very much indeed. Let me say this, the area of evolution is not necessarily, it's not necessarily the area of domestication.
Yeah.
Absolutely never. Where you evolve and move to another place to be domesticated, you become a super gene and you become completely towering to those that were left in the area of evolution. Think about that. The blacks moved out, stayed elsewhere. Maize plant was brought from Mexico to other countries, domesticated, became one of the most that we use today and even God. So, let me not delve into that. Second point, and I'm answering you, what's his name again? The African man.
The African man.
I'm answering you on that matter of evolution and domestication, where you need actual lecture in biology at some point. It's a theory, very powerful theory that we can get. The second point is this. I do not know if any of you have read books, those two books you may have, you know about it. The Black Bourgeoisie.
Oh, yeah.
The Black Bourgeoisie by Frank.
Yeah.
I read it. I am still reading one, actually. I have one in the hotel. There is another one that came about a year ago, 2021, called Project 1619. You know it? Yes. Project 1619. Yes. Those summarize the issues we go through now. Correct. To answer your question, my brother, now is this. Really. You know, it is both ways. The blacks in the US and the blacks in the continent. Two, they feel cheated. They are there. You have actually gone there, privileged, above level, because after you finish your education, you shall come back. Hope you will come back. And they join your country, and they live just like a king, a queen, and they start behaving like any of the presidents of a country. So they look at you as that person privileged in society, was never yanked from the original home to come back here. Another one, some may go there, and they may look up, down upon their friends to get a better job, something to do than them. Then the last one, I'm finished. The last one is my dear sister. Until Beijing came in 1985, Beijing, our women went all over the place and they were being brainwashed. I have a wife and 4 kids, and I hold her in the highest of esteem. She's just a master. But the problem we have to have, sir, is this. Men and the woman are different in behaving in certain things. And those must be respected as per that gender. So really, it is not that women hate or men hate. It's simply the bringing up and the thinking that a woman is a lesser being than a man, which is completely nonsense and stupid. Stupid.
60 coaches, more than 60 coaches, and you see in a very, very short time the development of the kids, and that makes you proud. And I just can speak for the Bundesliga. Yeah, every one of you knows Sadio Mane, maybe. So maybe that's the first African big player we ever had in the Bundesliga. So, and we have, as I said, the motivation to build a few more Sadio Manes, and especially in, don't misunderstand me wrong, football development countries like Tanzania, who maybe needs our help to bring that football environment to the next level. That's why we are here. That's why we support also that fantastic festival here, because we are strong belief that when everybody works together and every single person and single institution help each other, that together we can do a lot. And when I hear what you spoke before, or the two fantastic women spoke before, I believe, as I said, there is a lot of things who needs to get done, but we only can get that if we work together on a way that everybody support each other, not what is he doing or whatever. In our case, that small ball, when I pass the ball to you, it doesn't matter if he's rich, if he's poor, if he's black, if he's white, whatever. At the end of the day, it's football, and football building bridges, football changing lives, and football gives the power to help, I think, your continent or your country maybe also to come to the next level. That's from my end, so thanks for having me, and wish you all a good time.
Do we have any questions for either of them?
Oh, the doctor, I want to know where you are. So I can't see you, so make sure I know where you are.
Okay. Do you want to ask? Do you want to meet with him later?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
perfect. Perfect. Anyone else? I think, like I said, we just bring people to the stage so that we just get to highlight who they are. But while they are here for the week, please take the time to meet with them. You have a question?
Ask you that.
Long rivers, short rivers embrace the mountains and valleys. There are huge yago trees. Beneath them, we sit and find our easy self. Yet in a season, 2 seasons, and one only, then our demise into the mist, the limbo, the gloom. We can never return to our physical body.
The drama that you are about to see is but a replay of history. Betrayal is the nerve center of history. Betrayal you will always see. Betrayal of the living. Betrayal of the dead. Betrayal of the young. Betrayal of the old. Betrayal, brothers and sisters, will always be here.
And if there is anyone who cannot listen, let them blame their ears, not the poet. And if there is anyone who cannot understand, let them blame their mind, not the poet. And if there is anyone who cannot see, let them blame their eyes, not the poet.
The divine tongue sees something in the offing. The divine tongue predicts. It predicts the birth of a spirit from the land below. The divine tongue predicts that we will receive a visitor, a great artist and a great dancer too, from the land of men. Give me your ears, O souls, from all 4 corners of the world.
Speak, O messenger.
of the glorious presence. As it was in the beginning, so it is now. And forever shall it remain, world without end. We were once covered in flesh and blossomed for a season. We left the material flesh of our bodies, and now we are souls. Dear souls of the world, eternal shall we dwell as spirits, hovering hither and thither in the whole existence, timeless time, spaceless space, and endless existence. We have nothing against anybody. We have no bitterness. Lift up your hands to the Almighty, Creator of heaven and earth, the Judge of all beings that ever existed. Eternal One, Omnipotent One, we ascribe to Thee, we yield to Thee. The Lords call you Nyasai, the Agikuyu call you Ngai, the Abaluya call you Were, the Baganda call you Katonda, and friends from Muntu call you Odomankuma. Creator of heaven and earth, may your presence be felt forever and ever. Amen. Amen. I spoke in mystical languages. Poets, I tell you, have the glimpse of the unknown.
And I, teller of stories, I told stories in the world, stories that end. And at the end of them all I said, Tutida, meaning, let it be so. Amen.
Stories you told, mere fiction you are, of human beings.
I can see the spirit being led.
Where am I? You mean we have not arrived?
Don't worry, God. We have arrived.
Good. But I can see some forms. Are those humans?
My friend of God, you mean you wrote a whole book on African heritage, and now you cannot realize that those are the forms you talked about?
Oh, our brother, welcome. Welcome. We welcome you to the world unknown.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But now, I need a glass of water. My throat is very dry.
You have changed a lot. When I was your student of literature and culture at Makerere University, you used to hail African objects. I thought you could ask for a calabash of water.
Oh, you surprise me. And you mean your memory is that accurate in the hereafter?
Yes, after some time, you suffer a temporary memory loss, and you'll soon regain it and remember all things you did in the world.
And you say that you are my student?
Yes, Professor.
But then, how comes you're here? Or, you mean you're right here before me?
Idi Amin's bayonet made sure of that. I tried to be critical of his mismanagement of the economy, and that's how I left. It was a bang, not a whimper.
And who is Idi Amin?
You don't know Idi Amin?
I don't. And honestly, I can't remember anything.
Rest easy, Professor. Or shall I call you Mwalimu? You will soon remember all things in perspective.
And he will remember all the things he did in the world. Let him rest and have peace of mind.
No. I want to know what you people are talking about. I want to know why you call me Mwalimu.
You are not only a footballer, you are also a sociologist, a lawyer, educationist, a dancer, a poet, anthropologist, a sage philosopher, and the list could be longer.
Please, don't confuse me more than I am already.
All sorts of people. Why don't you let our visitor rest? Then after he has rested, regain his memory and tell us of the land beyond.
Well spoken! Well spoken!
That voice. That voice. It sounds so very familiar. Who is she?
In the hereafter, there is neither he nor she. We are but souls of physical bodies who remained back in the world.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction. But now, I feel so very tired now. Can I have my rest?
By all means, Professor.
Dear souls of the world, a soul has just arrived, and very early tomorrow he shall appear before review tribunal of elders. The elders will decide whether or not he shall be a free soul.
You?
When Mother Death comes, she whispers, "Come, come, come!" And then you stand up and follow Mother Death without even wiping the dust on your buttocks.
That is true.
Wataka nipeleke neno, dhahiri sitakata wito wake Bwana Mungu. Niko hapa, nitume niende leo.
sema
niko hapa, nitume niende leo.
Hadithi, hadithi,
Hadithi njoo.
hadithi,
Hadithi njoo.
Paukwa,
pakawa,
sahani
ya mchele,
giza,
ya mwizi,
kiboko,
ya mtoto mkorofi,
na maziwa je?
ya watoto wa Nyayo.
Kaondokea Chanjagaa,